If you're still early in your legal career in Ontario, you might not necessarily be totally familiar with the Law Society of Ontario's Form 9A, otherwise known as the Electronic Trust Transfer Requisition. This form is required to be used when money is being withdrawn from a licensee's trust account by electronic transfer. Unless another Bylaw 9 form applies instead, this form must be used even if the electronic transfer of funds is for something routine and ordinary, like paying yourself for fees and disbursements regarding your client's case. In this video, we'll walk you through the process of generating a Form 9A on TrustReq. We'll also help you make sense of your obligations under Bylaw 9 when it comes to things like record keeping, required signatures, and producing these types of documents for auditing purposes. If you'd like to review the relevant sections of Bylaw 9 yourself, you can head on over to our help documentation, which can be found at help.trustrec.ca. All right, let's begin. Starting from your TrustReq dashboard, click Fill Out New Form on the left-hand sidebar. You will now see an area appear where you can choose what type of form you intend to fill out. On the center of the page, click the drop-down menu and then click Form 9A. You will now see a button that says Start Filling Out Form 9A. Click that button. You'll be taken to a page where TrustReq will ask you a few quick questions to help you generate your form. First, indicate the relevant matter. TrustReq will assume that the relevant matter's client or clients are also the relevant client or clients for the purposes of this Form 9A. If you haven't yet created the relevant matter, you'll need to create one first. You can do that by clicking on the plus icon to the right of the search box and filling out the pop-up that appears. At Step 2, you'll see the client or clients who are listed within the matter you indicated. After you've reviewed the client or clients, simply click the Confirm button in the bottom right-hand corner. At Step 3, assign a requisition number to the form. This requisition number can be pursuant to your own filing system, but TrustReq will also automatically generate its own ID number for this document when you're finished generating the form. When you arrive at Step 4, enter the amount of money that will be transferred, and then click Next to continue. At Step 5, indicate the reason for this withdrawal of trust funds by choosing from a set of options. If more than one option applies, then you should select all that apply. After you select from the available options, you'll need to fill in the Further Details box. For example, you might provide the invoice number of a bill that you sent to a particular client and the amount of the bill. Let's talk about why TrustReq asks you for this information. First, including a reason for payment line is consistent with the sample Form 9A on the LSO's website. Second, subsections 1 and 2 of Section 9 of Bylaw 9 outline the only circumstances in which a licensee is permitted to withdraw money from the trust account. By requiring users to indicate which one of these circumstances apply, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that each and every Form 9A was prepared in a manner that is consistent with Bylaw 9. When you're ready to move on, simply click Next to continue. At Step 6, TrustReq will ask you from which trust account the money is being withdrawn. If the trust account that is to be debited has already been created, click the button that says Use this account in the relevant row. If you make a mistake, you can click Deselect, and then you can choose a different account. Alternatively, clicking another trust account from another row will automatically remove your previous selection and substitute it for the account you just clicked. If you haven't yet created the relevant trust account, you'll need to create one. To create a trust account, click the words Create a new bank account, fill in the fields, then press Submit. If you're unsure which numbers are the institution number, transit number, and account number, simply click View Sample Check in the top right-hand corner of the pop-up. When you arrive at Step 7, you will need to indicate if you will be using an email money transfer. In other words, an Interac e-transfer, to send funds from the trust account. This is because the Law Society of Ontario has indicated a slightly different process when an email money transfer is being used within the context of a Form 9A. We'll explain the process both with and without the use of an email money transfer. Let's take a look at the process with an email money transfer. If an email money transfer will be used, click Yes at this stage. According to the LSO, licensees should include the recipient's email address and method of payment on the Form 9A. For ease of reconciliation, the licensee should also note the reference number in the message field of the email transfer. To comply with this requirement, enter the name of a contact in the field provided. TrustReq will automatically use that contact's email address as the recipient address for the transfer. If TrustReq determines that the contact doesn't have an email address associated with them, then you'll be prompted to add an email address for that contact. If the contact isn't yet in your contact list, you'll need to add them using the Add New Contact button. After you finish generating this Form 9A, you'll be able to complete the additional record-keeping and signature requirements in relation to the email money transfer. Now, let's talk about what the steps would look like if funds are not being withdrawn using an email money transfer. In that case, you would simply indicate no when you arrive at the email money transfer question. Selecting no at step 7 will result in TrustReq asking you about the recipient's bank account details at step 8. As mentioned before, you can either select a bank account that has already been saved to your system, or you can create a new one. Since licensees often use a Form 9A to transfer money from their trust account to their general account, you'll save time by having your commonly used accounts easily accessible each time you come back to fill out a Form 9A. On the other hand, selecting yes at step 7 will result in step 8 being skipped altogether, and you won't need to indicate the recipient's bank account information. Once you arrive at step 9, you'll see a preview of the information you've entered. If you notice anything in the preview that needs to be changed, then remember not to press your browser's back button, since this will terminate your form before it is completed, and you'll need to start again from the beginning. Instead, look for the back button located in the bottom left-hand corner of the preview. After you're satisfied with the contents of the preview, click Next to move on to the signature stage. In the final step of filling out your Form 9A, a signature is required to authorize the transfer. According to Bylaw 9, this signature must come from a licensee or, in exceptional circumstances, a person who is not a licensee can sign if they have been given signing authority on the trust account and are bonded for at least the maximum balance that was on deposit during the previous fiscal year for all trust accounts where they have signing authority. If your TrustReq account permissions allow you to sign the form yourself, you can do so, or you can choose to submit it to another team member. If your account permissions do not include the ability to authorize a Form 9A, then you'll need to submit it to another team member who has such permission. After you complete this final stage, this Form 9A will appear in your primary dashboard along with your other Form 9 records. However, it's important to remember that there are additional tasks that must be performed in order to be compliant with Bylaw 9. Let's talk about those additional steps now. By clicking on the View Details button for a particular form, you'll be taken to another page where you can complete your other Bylaw 9 obligations, such as uploading a confirmation and adding additional signatures. Among the many requirements set out in Bylaw 9, you must keep a transaction confirmation from your bank to ensure you are compliant with the record-keeping obligations associated with your Form 9A. When you move money electronically, whether by email money transfer or by other electronic means, your bank will display a confirmation page of some kind. It's important to download that confirmation page so that you can upload it to your TrustReq portal. This way, each confirmation will be readily accessible in its associated Form 9A details page. In the case of an email money transfer, the LSO requires that licensees must save or print the relevant email confirmation that banks typically transmit upon successful completion of an email money transfer. Licensees are required to keep that email confirmation with the Form 9A, sign it, date it, and add the client's name and file number to it. The signed Form 9A and confirmation must be maintained for at least 10 years preceding the licensee's most recent fiscal year end. TrustReq makes it easy to comply with all of these record-keeping obligations by providing a simple and convenient way of uploading the relevant documents directly onto your electronic Form 9A. This is particularly convenient given that the LSO's website indicates that licensees are permitted to store their Bylaw 9 records in electronic format, provided that hard copies can be printed upon request. On that note, we've made it easy to save and print Form 9A or any other Bylaw 9 form that you might have generated on TrustReq. Now, let's discuss what happens if you make a mistake while uploading a bank confirmation. For example, you might have accidentally uploaded the wrong confirmation and you wish to correct the error. If you are the primary account owner, or if your account contains the necessary permission level to correct upload errors, then you'll see a button that says, Upload a correction. Clicking this button will cause a pop-up to appear, which will allow you to upload a new bank confirmation. Keep in mind that all previously uploaded files will remain visible in a changelog for users and auditors. This is to maintain the integrity and transparency of your record-keeping activities. You'll also be required to provide a brief explanation of what this correction is about and why it is being made. After you click Upload and Save, you'll see a changelog and a list of previous files appear. If this isn't the first change that has been made to this Form 9A, then this section of the page will have already been visible. Before you upload the new file, please ensure that this is the correct file that you originally intended to upload so that the need for subsequent corrections can be avoided. The final topic that we'll address in this tutorial is the Additional Particulars section of the Form 9A. This section is sometimes a point of confusion for licensees, so we've created an article in our documentation that hopefully helps make sense of it. The Additional Particulars section is simply trying to record who was involved in the electronic transfer of funds in the firm's banking portal, along with the signatures of those persons. These signatures are separate and apart from the signature of the person requisitioning the electronic trust transfer. Imagine a sole practitioner who has no employees. As unintuitive as it sounds, that person would have to provide their signature 3 times on the same Form 9A in the following capacities. 1. As the person requisitioning the electronic trust transfer. 2. As the person entering the details of the transfer. And 3. As the person authorizing the transfer at the computer terminal. We know that might sound a bit odd, but stay with us because it gets a little bit more interesting. Even if you are not a sole practitioner, lawyers might wonder what they should do if their financial institution's online banking portal doesn't offer a multi-party process for transferring funds. After all, it makes little sense for the bylaw to distinguish between the person entering the details of the transfer and the person authorizing the transfer at the computer terminal, when most lawyers' business bank accounts don't work that way. In other words, if you sign into TD Easy Web or RBC Online Banking, or any of the typical chartered banks in Canada, you likely won't find an option to carry out a funds transfer in the multi-user way required by Paragraph 1 of Subsection 2 of Section 12 of Bylaw 9, even if you ask your bank to do that for you. That being said, some banks offer specialized self-serve commercial banking portals for firms that routinely transact very large amounts of money, like real estate law firms. In those situations, it's not uncommon for banks to provide you with sophisticated tools, like a physical RSA key with a code that constantly changes. Those types of systems can accommodate a multi-user authentication system to execute a funds transfer. So if your bank isn't offering you sophisticated commercial banking services, either due to a lack of enormous financial transactions or for some other reason, what are lawyers supposed to do? At this time, we don't have the answer to this question, but what we can tell you is that we have brought this issue to the attention of the Law Society of Ontario, and they are aware of our feedback. Part of our mission here at TrustReq is to make compliance for lawyers easy and convenient. To us, that means going above and beyond just building great software, but also asking the right questions to help make sense of the rules. We're going to be monitoring these developments closely, and we will post an update when we know more. We hope you've enjoyed this tutorial about creating a Form 9A on TrustReq. Thanks for watching.